We have a lovely program. If you take a look at the program, which I should have in my hand, you'll notice, you'll notice that many of these composers, I think, perhaps are ones that you haven't heard of or heard that much music composed by them. Probably people know Copland from different aspects of his music. There's some very famous compositions of his that I'm sure you've heard, but some of these other composers, I'm guessing this might be a first for some of you. And we're gonna talk about the pieces just a little bit before we play them, just to help familiarize you with maybe some aspect of them that we find interesting, that we think you also might find interesting, and to help you feel more of a connection to what we're playing. We kind of sectioned off in different groups, and you'll see on this program that I think there's a lot of variety, so sit tight if perhaps one piece isn't your favorite. Don't sweat it, because the next piece is up pretty soon after that. And with a general request, of course, is to silence all your cell phones and anything that might make noise during the concert. You can take pictures if you want to, or video if you want to, with the condition of only sending it to me if it's very good. If it's not, we'll veto it. But, you know, if you catch a good shot and you want to share it with me, I would appreciate it. That would be wonderful. I'm so thrilled to celebrate my fabulous faculty, and truthfully, the fun in this has been rehearsing, as it always is, and I always say once you get to the concert, it's just pretty much like, it's just a party. You just go for it. And we've had some really nice gatherings. I got to have them over to my house, which is not something we get to do often because I live in Westchester. So I was thrilled that they actually were willing to come all the way to me. We had some good dinners, some good time, and a lot of rehearsing, and kind of wrap things up today here before this concert. So I hope you enjoy what we have prepared for you. And without further ado, we're going to start. Oh, I should acknowledge one thing. Sorry, Noah brought this to my attention that one of his students, Nadia, told him that today is Bach's birthday. Thank you, Nadia. But you'll notice we're not playing Bach. So we should have called Nadia to see what we should program. No, but the truth is, it's a nice thing to mention because truthfully, I think all of these composers would agree that they wouldn't be composing without the foundation and the forefather composition of Bach himself. So in our own way today, because we're playing a concert, I feel like we're honoring his birthday, and certainly each of you play, I think on a weekly basis, we get a lot of Bach in. So just have him in your mind and in your heart today. We hope you enjoy the concert. We're going to open up with a beautiful movement from Copland Violin Sonata with Noah and Anna.
Thank you. So I want to talk just a little bit about what you're going to hear right now. This is the last movement of Copland's Violin Sonata, Sonata for Violin and Piano. It's dedicated to Lieutenant Harry Dunham. I'm saying Harry, right? Yeah. Dunham was a pilot in the US Navy in the 1940s in World War II, and he was shot down in 1943. It seems that Copland and Dunham were friends when they were living, when he and his crowd were living in California, and the piece was dedicated to Dunham post-mortem after he died, so it's unclear what he was thinking when Copland was writing this, but it seems to have a lot to do with kind of like these flights of soaring up in the air like a pilot would and descending down back to the earth. The Copland, he wrote a lot of stuff in this landscape form where you can like almost envision a big landscape. So I often think about like being in like a stunt plane or a fighter plane in this. It's sort of spiraling up and spiraling down, and all these like fun things to do. And it's a lot of fun, but it's also very challenging. And I think we've had a lot of fun putting it together, but you'll also know that it's over because it slows down dramatically as if a plane might have landed and turned off its engine. So listen for that at the end and you'll know it's over then. Thank you.
So we are playing a piece by a modern living composer, which I think is always a really cool, fun experience when you get a chance to do, because we play a lot of old composers a lot. So this composer, his name is Samuel Ziman. He was born in 1956, which is right about the same age of my mom and dad. So Ziman is a Mexican composer who was born in Mexico City, but he has been affiliated with Juilliard. He actually did his, I think, both undergrad and graduate in composition at Juilliard, and has been on faculty since the 80s there. So this piece that we're playing today is a suite for two cellos. He composed it in, I believe, 2006, so it's extremely modern, but it doesn't sound like a lot of modern pieces. And we're playing just the first movement today, but if you like it and get a chance to listen to the rest of the piece, all of the other movements, each movement is very different, and a lot of them incorporate a lot of jazzy elements, along with kind of older school classical elements as well too. But the piece was composed for Yo-Yo Ma and Carlos Prieto, and they were the first ones to premiere it in Mexico in 2006. So we are happy to play it today for you guys. I wanted to just say one thing to kind of listen for as we're playing for you. There's a lot of call and response between the two cellos, which I find both fun and cool to play back and forth. So you can listen for the back and forth between the two cellos.
Coomer. And this is an older piece. Oh, sorry. This is a piece by Coomer. So he lived, he was born in 1797, so kind of towards the end of Beethoven's life. He was a cellist. He was also an oboist. And he wanted to go to school for cello, but they actually didn't have a spot for cello, so he went to school for oboe. But later on, he became recognized as a cellist, and he wrote so many pieces for cello. All his music is for cello. And he also has some teaching method books. So, for you, a lover of cello.
many of you know that Brian is a lawyer. But Brian, my husband, and I met at Juilliard when we were 20, a long time ago. And, well, I always tell him I fell in love with him as a musician. So although our lives are richer and better and wonderful in our world of having children and living our lives, we're extremely grateful to have these roots of our connection through music and to have found each other this way. And I asked him if he would play something with me on the faculty concert, and I had to nudge him a little bit because he is just truthfully so busy. So I'm happy that he took his marimba part, traveled here with it, brought it here to share this piece with you today. And you can maybe take a moment and just imagine what we looked like 20 years ago. 24 years ago when we first met, and we did play together back then. We played on recital together, and of course an orchestra together, and we've gotten to do some stuff since then, but life has gotten complicated, and well, now he works in an office and talks on the phone all day, and well, I spend all my time with you guys. So there you have it. Today we're going to perform a piece by Evelyn Glennie. I'll let Brian tell you a little bit about her since it's more of his world.
So Evelyn Glennie is one of the most prominent classical percussionists, and in fact, she's probably the only person in the world who makes her living as a solo percussionist who plays with orchestras all around the world. In fact, she keeps a full set of percussion equipment in storage in 4 different continents, and plays with the New York Philharmonic to the Berlin Philharmonic to everywhere around the world. And she's, I think, the only one who really makes her living doing that. She's also a composer and composed this next piece. And if you saw her, you would never know, but she is actually deaf, and she manages to still be an amazing percussionist and musician. She actually feels the music. She hears it with various parts of her body, and when she plays without shoes, so that her feet can be touching the floor and can sort of feel the vibration of the music. So this is a wonderful piece she wrote early on in her career called A Little Prayer.
Philip Glass's third quartet. Its subtitle is Mishima because it was written for a movie about the Japanese author. So that's why it's entitled that. But I just wanted to talk about the style of the music. It's actually called minimalism. Glass is kind of a pioneer of minimalism. And minimalism is, I'll have my friends play for you so that you can kind of see, but it's mostly like repeated patterns and ideas. And it's, in a way, very hypnotic. So I think listen for that. Ani, do you want to play first? Sure. Is this simple or complicated? Simple, yeah. But when you put it all together, it's pretty amazing. So we're gonna play it now.
I'm just gonna piggyback to what Isabel said. So something to keep in mind is when you look at the page, and I often say this in lessons, sometimes you look at a page of music and you think, oh, this doesn't look so hard. I can play this. And then as you start to study it, you realize, oh my gosh, there's so much more in this music than I realized just from the visual of the notes. So I think we can all four agree that the experience of working on this, for me, this is my first time ever playing Philip Glass, maybe embarrassingly so, because I feel like at this point in my life, I should have, so I'm glad to be doing it today. But I will say that it is a style of music that is so different than what I'm normally used to playing, in the sense that it is very, like Isabel said, very rhythmic, very hypnotic. The parts keep going round and round, which might think, oh, big deal, you're just playing the same thing over and over again. But actually, you have to use a different part of your brain, truthfully, to keep track of where you are in the music. Because if I were to show you my music, I think you would say, oh, it doesn't look that hard. But there's repeats every 4 measures or not. And then there's DCs, which means go back to the beginning, or DS, which means go back to the sign. And there's constant, it's like a big roadmap. So I thought I would share that with you because I think the complexity in, I guess, the challenge for us was actually less about the notes and more about keeping ourselves in the right spot, which is a little different than the experience of what we usually do. So fingers crossed that we make it from beginning to end together, okay? Here we go.
So we're next. Next piece is by a composer from Brazil, my continent. Hector Villalobos was born and died right before most of us were born, but not a whole lot. He actually, it's interesting that today we mentioned that is Bach's birthday. This piece is part of a suite that is part of a compilation of pieces that he wrote in the style of Bach, that they call Bachianas Brasileiras, which is Brazilian folk music mixed with Bach's music. So it's very appropriate for today. Secondly, I wanted to, well, he also, actually, he dedicated this piece to his wife. I called it her Mindinha, which is a nickname, a pretty nickname. And last but not least, I want to share with you that I've chosen, I'm going to pull out my music while I'm talking. I'm playing this music, everything I'm doing is going to be on only 3 strings. As you all know, some of us, you all play violin, but this is a viola. I don't have an E string, but I have an A, a D, a G, and a C string. I'm going to play everything without touching the A string. So if you see me touch the A string, you can hold me accountable. I won't do it, I promise. Since the previous piece that I played was from Brazil, right? So we're going to move to Argentina.
Okay, so this piece was composed by a very famous Argentina composer named Astor Piazzolla. Did I pronounce right? Okay, actually, he is the composer who bring the tango. Do you guys know tango, the dance? Very upbeat music. So he bring that to the Europe, North America, and this piece is kind of like history of the tango. So we are playing the second movement called Café 1930. Do you know why it's 1930? Because in 1900, I tried to study that. In 1900, the tango was very lively, but when they're up to 1930, everybody kind of quiet down, like to listen to the music, so the music have a little bit sorrow, you know, and that they are really calm down a lot. So, and also this piece originally was composed for the guitar and the flute. I'm the guitar part, she's the flute part, okay? I tried to imitate the guitar sound. I don't know if I can do it or not, but just try to, you know, listen to it, okay? Thank you.
Our next piece is a prelude by Gershwin. And Gershwin himself premiered these 3 preludes. So it's a set of 3 preludes. He premiered it at the Roosevelt Hotel, which I believe is still like a luxury vintage hotel in the city in 1926. Later on, it was arranged for 4 hands. We open up with a bluesy motif. So listen out for that blues scale. Just like we have major and minor scales, we also have something called the blues scale, which sounds like this. And in the opening of this prelude, you can kind of hear that bluesy influence. And later on, we hear more of that. We also hear some syncopation, which is based on some Brazilian rhythms. So I hope you keep listening to that and enjoy. I'll tell you a little bit about the next piece. It was written by actually a friend of mine back to the Juilliard days. He was actually one of my suite mates' boyfriends at the time. He was a very good friend of my brother's and therefore a very good friend of mine since my brother and I were in school together. And he was a violinist then, nothing of a composer, or did I ever predict that that would be a channel that he would take in his life. He currently actually is a clinical social worker. He's in many ways pulled out of the music field, but yet not so much, because I see his name, he's subbing at the Met, he's composing all over the place, he's gotten a lot of recognition as like a very innovative American composer. And when I think back to his personality and what I know of him, I mean, I was sharing with the faculty that he carries himself almost with kind of a stoic face. It's like when I would make him laugh, it really made me laugh because I really felt like I was cracking his code. So Neil, his name Cornelius, Neil was, I mean, full of personality, but not until you kind of opened him up. And when I actually messaged him the other night and I said, can you tell me a little bit about your piece? Which, by the way, I came across just listening to the radio, listening to Sirius XM, you know, the classical station, coming home one night. I said, Brian and I were in the car together, and I said, oh my gosh, what's this piece? And we noticed, oh my gosh, it says Cornelius Dufalo. I said, we know him, he's our friend from Juilliard. And little did I know that he was writing music. I didn't quite know that part of his life. I looked him up, and sure enough, he's writing tons of music. And I messaged him saying, can you tell me a little bit about this piece? And I was expecting something really like deep and connected. And he was like, I don't know, I just kind of liked the tune, so I wrote it down. And I was like, and he said, and why did I call it Lighthouse? He goes, because I like lighthouses. And I was like,
like, okay, I'll share that with everybody. Thank you so much, Neil. Hope you're well. Anyway, so I thought you'd find humor in that, but it kind of, when I put it all together, it does still very much remind me of his personality. It kind of matches up. So anyway, it's a very cool piece. We picked it, you know, like I said, I heard it on the radio. I said, I'm going to play that at some point. It's a very cool piece. I think it has a rock and roll element in the middle of it, and I think you'll pick up on that and hear something that's quite different than what we normally play. I hope you enjoy it. Sure, why not? Between a cello A and a violin A.
While we wait for Isabel to come up, make room for her, I'll tell you a little bit about this next piece. Is called Pavane Couleur du Temps. Pavane used to be an old dance from the 1600s, 1700s that was, and I looked it up, and it said a slow dance that was performed with very colorful outfits, very extravagant, something that out of the ordinary, something colorful. And then couleur du temps is an expression which means really the awareness of the changes in the seasons and how appropriate it is that is changing to finally spring. And here we are. It's a little dance about the change of the season. And maybe Yanni, I don't know if you wanted to share something.
I just thought in a teaching frame of mind, there's a lot of different bow strokes that happen in this piece, and I know in some of my classes recently we've been talking about the different styles of how you can use your bow. And I think in this piece in particular, there's like a huge demonstration of a big variety of that. There's also a line that's passed throughout 4 of the instruments. Not one of them gets it though. One of us gets left out. There's a line called bariolage, which is kind of weaving in and out of an open string to the same note, but played with the fingers, such as this. And that's passed between 4 of us, but one person gets left out. I'll let you figure out who that is. We love that person anyway. gonna finish with something that's fun and recognizable. We had a little Gershwin earlier. We're gonna finish with Gershwin because we all hope we've got rhythm. So enjoy. Here he goes.